Welcome to the day 11 of our 30 days AI automation challenge. Today we are going to be building a simple rack that can help us retrieve documents, company's documents, in order to actually respond to our clients professionally and with correct information. Now, if you notice from the last class that we just talked about, I converted my PDF, the PDF that carries information about my company, to a JSON. And I told you that that way is not even the major way of doing it. So the major way of doing it is to build a rack. Now, if you actually give your AI a prompt, that, for example, we're building something like this yesterday, right? So if you actually, the AI is supposed to get your information, get everything, and respond to the client. If you don't supply more information to the AI agent, it will not be able to know what to actually respond to the clients. For example, if the client says, a student comes and say, how much is cybersecurity cost? And the AI does not know how much is the cybersecurity cost at Express Tech, the AI may not even know. It may just respond randomly and even may be confused. So you need to supply the AI with all the documents of the company so that the AI will not be stranded and offer the services exactly. And that's exactly why you need to build a rack. So let's see. First, a rack is actually a retriever augmented generation. Rack is an AI framework that retrieves relevant context from your own private data, right? So you give the AI, you store the data or your document, your PDF, your Excel sheet, everything about your company, you store it somewhere, and we're going to be storing it in our Google Drive, right? Now, the duty of the AI is now to retrieve any of those information from that Google Drive and be able to answer the student or the clients properly. So let's say, for example, I upload the PDF that carries the price list of our company in our Google Drive, and I connect the Google Drive directly with the AI. So when somebody come and say how much is data analysis cost, the AI now will go back to the Google Drive, retrieve the information from there and supply it. And this, you need to build a chain of it, and that's what we're going to be doing today. So why is it important? Enhances elements with external knowledge. It's very simple. If the AI does not know exactly what to do, it may answer randomly or even be stranded. Is that okay? That's why we need to do this. So let's look at the flow. External knowledge from here to retrieval system, and you can see all of it. But there's a more important thing I want to show to you. This is how the what I've been explaining, a rack works. Let's say you put in the document, and when somebody asks an information, so the AI had to go directly into the document, retrieve the information, and the information usually pass through a particular vector. Is that okay? And Pinecone is the particular vector that we'll be using in this class. There are other vectors, but Pinecone is the one we'll be using here. So from Pinecone, it understands the message, retrieve from here, and then to give it to the ChatGPT from ChatGPT before we now give the output of the result. Is that okay? So this is how everything is going to supposed to run. Is that okay? So we are going to create something like this and see how we can attach it to what we're building yesterday. So enough of that, and let's begin the main work. So if you come here, let me push this side, let me push it aside because we want to start from afresh. And then all I have to do is click on add note as usual, and we need to put Google Google Drive, because we want to store the information in our Google Drive, right? Then we look for come down under triggers, open triggers like this, and then still scroll down, and we have on changes involving a specific folder. On changes involving a specific folder. And why we are also using this one, let me explain, is that, see, let's say for example your prices change per time, so, or maybe you have a new document about your company, so you just have to be uploading it to the Google Drive without touching the workflow or the automation here. So everything will still work, and that's why we are using it. So no matter how many times you upload or change anything in the Google Drive, it will still work here without you doing anything. So that's why we choose that particular one. So here, of course, you're going to configure it. So let's use it every minute. You're of course going to configure it. But first, let's try to sign up and click on this, and let it sign it up to the particular email where our documents will be. Is that okay? So let's click on there. Let me log in with one of my email. This is the email I've been using if you have been following me. So let's log in. Let me give it access. So we have logged in, and you can see that everything here is now okay. Now in this, there are some points where if you come here, let me explain something here so you understand. If you come here actually and you can't find where to sign up, like we just sign up here, sign in like we just sign in, that means you need to create new credentials. And in creating new credentials, you actually need the client's key, the client's ID, and the client's secret code like we did in the other time. So if you click on here, and in case you can't find something like this, you will actually find the client's ID or the client's how they call the client's ID and the client's secret key. And all you have to do is just recreate them that we did in one of our classes. Just come back go back to where we have Google Cloud, right? And then type up here on the search bar Google Cloud Drive, and then click on Google Drive API keys. Is that okay? Google Drive API keys. So enable them. I'm actually showing you, if you don't see that sign in, that's what you should do. So you can click here and you can click on enable keys. Now when you click on enable keys, let me show you what you need to do next once the keys has been enabled. The keys are currently enabling, and then let it finish, and let's just wait for it for some time because it actually needs network. All right, so it has actually come here. The next thing for us to do is the keys have been enabled, and you can see it here. So let's actually go back. Let's go back and click on here, and then come to our API keys and credentials, where we actually had that our client's secret ID and secret code, right? Let's come back there, and you can see it. We now have it here. So let's double click on it. Let's double click on the one we have created before. You should know all of this by now. So let's come down, and what you need to do is you need to add a URL. You have enabled the API key, which is the first thing you need to do, and then the second thing you need to do is to add a URL. And if you add a URL, you will actually see a new client ID and a new secret code, just the way we did it. So you can just click on add new one, and then if you come back to this one place here, you should be able to see your client's ID, your client's secret code. You just copy it from here, and then come back to here, and then input it here, and then click on save. Then you now copy the client ID and the secret ID, and then of course put where you will see the details, and then you start using them. Is that okay? So that's how to do that. That is if you don't find this sign in with Google. Is that okay? But our own, we have signed in with Google, and we don't have to go and pass through all this process again. But in case you can't find it, please, you have to pass through all these processes. Let's come back, and then let's close this please completely, and then let's set this up. Now for us to set this up, we cannot change this to change involving a specific folder. That is what we actually want it to be. This one should remain in minute, no problem. And then the folder is, now you need to go to your Google Drive, right, and create a folder. Is that okay? And create a folder that you want to put all your document on. Okay, so we can come here, and I now click on new folder, and I'll now put Dennis local. All right, that's a Dennis local, and I click on create a new folder. All right, so a new folder will be created for me. Let it be created, and I'll now let me just, I think I lost it. Okay, this is Dennis local, this is the folder. Let me now drop in at least one let me drop in one document. So I'll just pick my document and then drop it inside here. So the Dennis local that has everything about my company, name it anything, it must not be Dennis local. You can name it Express Tech, you can name it anything about what you are building. The company that needs the folder that will carry every information about your company. So name it in the name of your company. So we have dropped at least one of the documents that carry information about our company here. So with that, let's go back to our icon, and then here you can now click on here and click on folder. If you click on folder, we are supposed to see that Dennis local folder. So let's type Dennis local folder, and see, you can see that we now have Dennis local folder. Let's choose it, and then watch for, so let's click on watch for, is to watch for file created. So anytime we drop a file in that folder, it should be able to access the file and use it to communicate with our students or our clients, right? So we are now choosing file created. Look at it, file created, not folder created, but file created. If you want to create a folder inside of the folder, that's when you should choose folder, but we don't want that. All right, so that's that. We are here, everything. Don't add any option. You can add many options, but we don't want to add any option for now. But let's just test what we have done. Fetch test event. So if we do anything correct, of course it should test. You can see it here. Let me scroll to this side and you can see it here. Everything is actually correct. That's the link, that's everything. This is the email address that contains the file. Just see all the informations are outlined here, so you can see everything is correct. And then this is the name of the file that is in that folder, which is 100 courses bundle for seller by Coach Dennis. Is that okay? We want you to be on schema so that we can actually see clearly everything. So you can see if everything is correct, you can return it back to table, and that is all. So we are done with the first one, which is actually this the first node, which is actually the trigger, right? So we are done with this one, and the next thing to do is to now add another Google Drive node. Why are we adding another Google Drive node? Because we want the file that is actually in this first folder to be downloaded before the AI should download it and use it. Is that okay? It's not using it directly from the folder. It will download it to his own and use it. So we are still going to put Google Drive, and then Google Drive, click on Google Drive, and this particular will now put download file. So it's going to download the file from that Google Drive and use it. And of course, we still need to configure it. Just leave it at here. We don't want to create any credentials again because we already have it. And then we can now come here, so leave it at file. All right, so under this operation, we leave it at download, and then the next one is file. All right, so we don't actually want to choose any file, because if you click here, you see all the files that are on my Google Drive, all of that, but we don't want you to choose a particular file, right? We want it to be dynamic. So we're actually going to use expression, so that if any file that is being uploaded there, it will automatically download it and use, and not just a specific file. So it will be dynamic. So let's click on expression, of course, normal, but first of all, change it to ID. Please change it from here, from list to ID, then you now put it on expression. So just let's flip from here and we'll choose document ID. So let's scroll down. So say this is the file ID, so we just have to drag it and then put it here. So it's not going to be responding to any file at all that is in that Google Drive. So let's execute what we have done. Click on this, and then it's supposed to fetch. Of course, that's fetch the file. This is the file name and everything that has been given to us. So you can now click on download, and of course the AI is going to download everything. You are not the one to do it. So it's better you leave it at binary, because binary is actually for download. If I click on JSON, you can see that download button has left. Even the table, it won't be there. The schema will not be there. But if you put it on the binary, you can see that it's not showing. So leave it at binary. I just wanted to explain that. Okay. So we are done with this step and everything is working. We can now click on here, and you can see that we are having these two things working. Now the next thing is, after it has downloaded the file from the Google Drive, what should it now happen? It should feed it to a vector, and the vector is actually what we'll be using. And I explained from the beginning that the vector we'll be using is called Pinecone, right? Pinecone. Come here and click on here, and we are now going to type Pinecone. Remember Pinecone, we need the Pinecone vector. Let me spell it correctly, and you see, if I choose Pinecone, you see we have Pinecone assistant and Pinecone vector. We need Pinecone vector and not Pinecone assistant. So click on Pinecone assistant, and then we now come here and let's see, I click on there, just put either any of this one, but let's just put retrieve document for AI agent as tool. Let's click on this one, and then we can now come here and you can see it here. Now we need to actually create credentials, right? Let's create credentials. So let's create new credentials. I've created this one in the past, but I want to show you how to create a new one. Let's click on this one, and then you can see that to create a new credentials, we need to actually create a key. Is that okay? So you have to go to a platform called Pinecone.io. Pinecone.io. Register, and it will bring you here just with your email as usual. It will bring you here and click on generate API keys. So we want to generate API keys and say, what should I say? I say Express API, for example. The name can only be okay. So let me just Express API, and I click on generated. And so these are API keys. I'll copy it, return back to an NetN, and then I'll paste it here. So I'll click on save, and they say created, credential successfully created, and then connection tested successful. So let's close it, and then let me close it from here again. You can see that we have Pinecone I've created in the past. So under operation model, please put it on insert document, and then from here Pinecone index. So in order to fill this Pinecone index, all right, so we have to return back to the website because we are not done. We have to create an index. If I click on here, we might have some other index because I've created some index actually, but we don't want any index that will come from there. We want to create our own new. So all I have to do is I have to go back, and then here we are not done. Let me close it, then come to inference. Under inference, let's scroll down and we'll have index. So let me change it to express index. The name is suggesting to me because I tried creating it. Now let's click on create index, and it will take us here where we are going to configure it. So we are going to create our index and still copy, of course go and find it from there to use it. So let's let this thing load completely, and I'll show you how to create the image. Our name is still here, express index. So let's just scroll here under this configuration. Let's scroll here, click on manual configuration, and then let's click on this one, and then we are going to choose 1536. That's 1536. We just want to configure everything manually, just the way I just choose 1536, and click on create index. So it's going to create an index for us. Let's wait for it. It has created it for us, and we can now return back. And once we return back under Pinecone index, you can now click on here, and you can now see that the index we created there is now here. Please, if it's not here, please all you have to do is refresh it and it will be here. Is that okay? So click on here, and then embedded byte size, leave it at 200, and then add an option, and then click on the Pinecone namespace, and then just put the same namespace that you put 1536 or 15396 rather, and then leave it like this. Sorry, 1536 and not 15396, and then leave it like this. So everything is okay like this, and let's execute what we have done and see if it's working. So we can click on this, and let's see, say embedded sub node must be connected. So we have not embedded any node. Because of this, you can see embedded node and document. So the Pinecone actually has an embedded node, and it also has a document. But to do this, let's embed our node by clicking on here. A node, the embedded node we are talking about is actually like the AI, of course, the AI that is going to do it. But this one is not going to be just normal OpenAI. It's going to be an embedded OpenAI. So we click on embedded OpenAI, and of course we're going to just configure it. If you want to see use the free version, you can see it. But remember, I said for you to get all this, you need an API key, OpenAI API key. But we are still using the free version, right? So let's use it, and then model, use any model please, and then we are done. Can now click on OK. So the Pinecone has now been here. Please, I think there's something we did wrong here, but let me bring it. Let me click on it, and where we have this Pinecone namespace, please name it something else and not 1536. Let's name it Dennis Office, or anything you want to name it, just name it, but leave it at that. All right, so here we have had the embedded, and we need to add the document. So let's click on the document, and you can see we have default data loader. Click on it, and under types of data, please change it to binary. I've explained that from the beginning. Then this one, please leave it like this. The data format, leave it as this. This is the only thing we are changing here, only binary, right? So let's click on here, and then we are now done. So now I think we have tried to do all this best. So let's now try to execute if it's correct. But please ensure that it's connected. I don't know how it was disconnected. Ensure that it's connected. Everything is connected, right? So now let me click on here, and then let me try to execute it and see if it actually give us the result. It should give us the result because we have been doing it the right way. See, this is the file here. Everything is coming. Workflow executed successfully, and you can see it here. Let me click on here, and you can see this is the file here. Everything is now complete. This is the output. Everything here. Just see it here. So we did it correctly, and when I executed it, you can see that it's now here. So even if you come to the Pinecone, for example, you were supposed to see the data. All right, you can see that we now have the namespace Dennis Office, and when we executed it, you can see that we now have the result here. This is very, very important. So once it's now like this, if you can find it from the Pinecone, it is now feeding the Pinecone with the information from the node. That means we are correct. So now let's go back, And then, so the next thing is now to connect the whole of this, what we have built today, to what we built yesterday, right? Remember, we are building a rack. Remember, we are building a rack, and we actually want this WhatsApp chatbot to use the rack. That's why we have been building it since yesterday, right? Let me highlight all of it because I want to move it. All right, so I'll now highlight all of it and move it to any space that you want to move it. All right, so we want to actually connect this rack here to this one. You can see that everything is working in green tick if you do it following what I just did. So you cannot just connect it from here to here. How do you now connect it? Please, if you check this, what we built that yesterday, you can see that we have the tool here. Is that okay? So let's click on tool, and then we can now feed it with Pinecone. All right, Pinecone vector, very important. Click on Pinecone vector, and then let's configure it. Please choose the right credential. I think it's the Pinecone account 3 that we use. So let's choose it. You can just leave it like this. Under description, you can just say fetch my Dennis office, data or anything. Just tell it to fetch anything. Is that okay? But you can still leave it empty, right? So then under Pinecone index, which is very important, choose the index that we have been created. Then the limit, you can leave it the way it is, and that's all. Let's just complete it, and you should be able to see it here. Okay, this is here, this is it here. And then we also need to embed another AI that will be able to use this rack, right? So let's click on here, and then still put embedded AI, embedded OpenAI. And of course, you're still going to pass through the same process and to configure it. But we are using the free AI keys. So you don't have to do anything else here, right? Just click on it, and then this is now working perfectly. If you execute this agent, what it will do is it will actually, if a user asks a question that it cannot find within this area, within the prompt you give under this area, it will actually use the Pinecone, which is actually connected to this rack, to be able to fetch information to give to your client. This is actually what we have built today, and of course you can see that it takes us a bit of time, but it's actually something that is achievable. Now let me explain something. Some of you are already complaining, oh coach, this is tough. That is AI automation for you. You just have to follow everything step by step. But let me explain something. The NSN has an AI here which you can actually use. If you are actually encountering any problem, explain your issues to the AI here, and it can be able to tell you where you are doing it wrong, right? So the AI is always here to help you. Is that okay? So thank you so much. I will see you in the day 12.